Ah, I almost stepped into a freaking hole. That would have been a bad beginning of, actually that would have been an awesome beginning of the video if my ass stepped in this hole and fell over. So recently, like, Florida's been in the news about being the nation's kind of like booty hole, you know? But I guess I'll talk about, because I've lived there before, and there's a couple of different things that you notice about living in Florida. Number one, it depends on where you're living, whether you're living in the north, in mid-Florida, or you're living in South Florida. Your experiences will differ where you actually live throughout Florida. It's like completely different. But I've been and lived in most of Florida, so I think I can talk a little bit about it. So North Florida, right? Really, all that is kind of like living in Georgia or Alabama. That's exactly what it's like. You're basically living with a lot of people that have a heavy southern twang. You meet them, they like to do a lot of things like go down the Redneck Riviera. That, for you guys that don't know, is any swamp that has a river running through it that you can fit a boat on. And maybe you're riding like a pontoon boat or something. You're not riding like a super duper like awesome boat or anything like that. There's another thing that they do there, and that's shoot guns in the woods. And one of the weird things is you go there and there's public ranges there. It's like you just go there. It's like going to a public park. Like, just imagine going to a family picnic park, right? That's set up on the side of the streets or whatever, or a little bit off of it into the national forest that you have around you. But they're unsupervised gun ranges. Kind of cool, actually, I'll say. I went there with a buddy one time, and there's like very little rules there. I mean, obviously there's posted rules or whatever, like don't be there at night, don't do this, like pick up, you know, all the garbage that you have and spent shells and everything and boxes and all this other stuff. But there's also a thing there that says do not fire anything that is 50 BMG or higher. And my buddy just happened to just finish building his 50 BMG. And that's what people do. People build guns in Florida because you can, you know. It's a thing. So he brings his 50 BMG there. He just got done building it. We go to test it out, and he's like, okay, well, we've been there for like 2 hours or so, and he's like, okay, well, we got to do this, and then we're freaking out, right? We're out of here after we test this thing. So we pull it out, we test it. There's other people there, of course. It's like pretty full. These places get pretty full during the weekends and all that kind of stuff, so it's pretty full. We fire a round off. He does one, I do one, and we're not planning on firing a lot of them off because, one, the ammunition's like stupid expensive. It's like $5 to $10 a pop. Two, we weren't supposed to be firing that thing down there. So we do it, and then all of a sudden, like, these two police officers come up to us, and we're like, ah, shit, like, we're gonna get this confiscated, we're gonna get a ticket, we're gonna get something, right? And lo and behold, all they ask is, can we try that out? That is like the epitome of Northern Florida. Can we try that out? Yeah, go ahead. We let them both try it out. Living in Central Florida is a little bit different. So this is like living in, I don't know, the Tampa Bay or Orlando area. So one thing you gotta know is people love theme parks there. As stupid as it may sound to everyone else in the nation, like Disney World is a huge thing. It's like has like a cult following, and I think it's all over the world where it's like that, you know. But people are really proud about it in Florida. They wear freaking pins to say that the different places that they've been, when they've been. They buy like season passes, and they want to work there. It's an odd thing, and this happens not only to family people, but really young people too, like teenagers and stuff. And then there's South Florida. Now, South Florida is completely different. There is a huge Cuban community that lives down there. Food, that is awesome, right? So they have all these Cuban places set up with like Lechon and everything. And I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Lechon. That's like slow roasted barbecue pork or whole pig or whatever. You get like the crispy, you know, crackling and everything there. And yuca fries and all these other awesome things like pollo asado and all these other crazy foods down there, which is great. And it really feels like everyone's dressed up all the time. I always thought that was weird. Like, you go to a grocery store or the mall and people are dressed up going there. It's insane. And everyone's wearing like Miami Vice clothes that you would imagine people wearing back in the day. Or I should say, let me be more modern. Everyone's dressed up like freaking Pitbull. And if you make an appointment there, it's like with someone, and you're like, hey dude, I'm gonna come over, we're having this party. Okay, well I'll be there. What time does it start? Like 7 o'clock? Don't show up until like freaking 10 or so, because no one shows up there on time to social events. It is like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Like, I've been to weddings there, and people don't show up until, and weddings are a little bit better, fair to say. Weddings are a little bit better, because you're booked for that specific amount of time. But people generally do not show up until like that wedding has basically started. And it took me a little while to realize that after I moved, because it's like one of those like, oh, the grass is greener on the other side, right? Until you jump over the fence and you're like, nope. You have a lot of freedoms in Florida. You have a lot of cultural diversity. It's a giant state. There's cities there. There's wilderness there. There's so much stuff that you can do. There's, you know, the ocean's right there. Almost anywhere you go, there's wildlife. I mean, it's just a great place. And then there's like awesome restaurants as well. Food's really good. And if you want to go to a metro place, there's basically anywhere that you're in Florida, there's tons of major cities around. It's not just like in one place of the state. It's basically spaced out pretty well. So there you go, guys. That's my thoughts of actually living in Florida and what I actually think about the state. Don't knock it until you try it. But until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.